Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Co-optional Podcast.
Hello.
Myself, Jesse Dodger, is here, and we are joined by Miss Genna Bain.
Hi, guys.
To take some time today and talk about our dear friend, Mr. John TotalBiscuit Bain, with all of you, with everyone watching at home. So forgive us if it takes a minute to get started, but yeah, today we're gonna
in advance.
That was smart. I was literally just thinking to myself, I should have grabbed toilet paper or something. Let's deal with it.
You still can.
Yeah, we're gonna chat and talk, and I don't know if you guys in chat have anything you'd like to say. I'm sure we'll see it, and we'll try and get to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I guess we'll start with Genna because
yeah. So I guess like what the biggest story in gaming news. I mean, this is the Co-optional Podcast. We talk about games sometimes. So
sometimes.
I am actually kind of surprised, really, the amount of coverage, I guess, in some way of how much has been reported on Jons Passing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm just overwhelmed by like the amount of support and I mean, not just the attention. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, really. I mean, I think you'd be okay with the being front page of the BBC, but being on Fox News might have been a bit much.
It's like, take that down.
Yeah. There's actually even funny enough, we used to get like these ping alerts in emails. Like, I don't know if you guys do this, but do you like have like Google alerts set for like your own name, sort of? Just so you can like fact check things if stuff gets out of control.
No, but I remember John saying that he had that set up for himself and that it like stressed him out really bad.
I have it, and I've never once seen my actual name. It'll be like Courtney Cox in the news today. I'm like, what?
So he had that set up, and so like all his devices ping, 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 ping.
Oh gosh.
And then I hear my own device like ping in the middle of the night, and I'm like, wait, why are people writing about my name? I'm like, and it's literally like a heavy.com article, 5 things you need to know about Genna Bain. And I'm like, what? It's been like 24 hours since the news, and they've already like moved on. It's like, no, journalists, we're moved on now. It's 5 things you need to know about the spouse of someone who is no longer with us. And I'm just like, and they dug deep too. Like it was detailed, like very detailed.
I think I saw something. I think I saw that or something similar to that where it was like,
even
who
the
is
Sun.
Genna Bain? I was like,
right. Who cares who Genna Bain is? It was just weird. So, coping with that, there's also been like people out of the woodwork who like messaged me within 48 hours of it happening and being like, well, John owed me money. So can we get that? Yeah.
What?
That was a thing.
Oh my God.
So people have an interesting way of processing, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'm still very much in the shock phase of my process. So I know a lot of people are like, well, how can you do the podcast? How can you be here? It's because it hasn't all hit yet.
I'm sure.
I mean, part of it has, but this is going to be a lifelong thing. It's going to keep hitting, and like there'll be just some random thing that I see in the corner, and I'm like, oh, I remember when we got this, and I'll just be like deluge and whatnot. So, but yeah, I wanted to say thank you to everybody who has been very supportive throughout this. I will need tons of support because I am a needy person. True. And yeah, it's been a big shock. I had 5 years to sort of prepare for this potential outcome, but you're never prepared. Nobody can really prepare you for it. So
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to everybody in the community, everyone who is allowing me to sort of have a roof over my head at the moment. That GoFundMe that David Sievers put out was insane. I think it's like over $200,000 from just people, who wanted to drop their coffee money, into a GoFundMe. I appreciate every single penny that you guys are putting into this, because that is my life. I became a widow, a single mother, and unemployed all in the same moment. And that's really overwhelming, especially when you haven't processed grief. And I don't know if I've told you guys this aside, but basically we got into a bit of an issue, like when John first kind of got big, when he first started sort of exploding. We didn't have a very wise accountant or anything like that, and they mismanaged things very poorly. So it got to the point where the home we live in is actually being sort of like taken back by the IRS. There's like a lien on it, and I have like 90 days before I'm supposed to find a different living situation before they take the house. And so it's like I say, every penny I desperately appreciate. And I know John never was the type, he never wanted to ask for donations. We ran the StarCraft team at a loss all the time. We put money into things that we loved and passion projects, even though it wasn't fiscally responsible to do so. But that, he had a passion for things, and yeah, I'll miss that. I'll miss the passion he had for things, even if it wasn't responsible, even if it wasn't fiscally possible. He was gonna make it happen one way or another. And I'm just glad that his legacy is living on through people who have messaged me and like, hey, I got my start because he encouraged me. And I'm like, that is his legacy. His legacy is this show. His legacy is anybody who ever benefited from anything he said.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of comfort in that. I know I'm not mourning alone. I know I'm not grieving alone. Everybody. I love that cup in this moment, by the way. Brooke, I need that comic relief right now. I need that. I need that right now. But I just, I am very grateful to everybody who is preserving his memory in the way they are. And everybody processes differently. So, yeah. Okay. I did that. All right. That was the thing that happened.
When I was doing Saturday Morning Duger, there were people in my chat who were saying, is it weird that I feel so affected when I never met him? Is it weird that I'm crying over someone I've never met, that I feel like a loss, and I don't think that that's weird at all. Like John was the sort of incredible personality that did affect people really strongly. And Jesse and I were talking the other day, and he's just, he was one of those people that just wanted everybody to enjoy games and be successful and have fun and follow their dreams. And, he was very stoic on camera, but deep down, that's what he was built out of. So yeah, I don't think that
National
it's
Biscuit
odd
Day.
at all. It is National Biscuit Day. Somebody was saying that, and I was like, it's a sign.
It is.
Yeah. Yep. So
And now landscapers show up. Sorry, I'm not sure if you can hear that, but now they're mowing the lawn.
can't. Didn't you say it was just raining?
Yeah. I don't know why they mow the lawn here while it rains. It's like they got to get paid, I guess.
I guess so. Mowing the lawn when it's raining is not fun, but
I guess I do at least want to address that John passed peacefully. I know, obviously I got onto his Twitter and made the announcement when he passed, but I do think it's important that people do know that he passed peacefully. He passed here in our home, in his own bed, under his own steam, basically, surrounded by the people who loved him. His family have come in from England, and I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I have been for their support through all of this, because I could not have gone through this alone. And of course I'm not through anything, but I know it meant a lot to him to have his family around him and not to be in some sort of clinical setting. As far as the hospital, he was in the hospital the week before getting a drain put in to remove what we call ascites fluid that builds up in your abdomen. And it was causing so much pain. He was in so much pain all the time. Even during doing the podcast, sitting up, the pressure would be on his abdomen so badly. So went into the hospital, went to get the drain put in. His stats weren't good enough to have the drain put in. So we had to stay in the hospital for about 4 days. Finally had the drain put in. So he was at least in comfort on a daily basis. I'd be draining fluid off of his abdomen so he'd be comfortable. So he wasn't in the kind of pain that he had been previously. So
that's good.
I want people to know that, he was not in pain when he passed. So the fight obviously was a long one for him. And, I am grateful that he is no longer suffering, but he did not suffer in the end. And I just want to make sure people, understand that, because some people, they might need that for closure.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's good to know, just in general.
He was talking about Fortnite the night before. That
was my favorite tweet. Yeah. Because I remember you always making fun of him for critiquing games in his sleep. And so this was so believable to me. The idea of him just like, Fortnite is a garbage game.
It's like the developers of Fortnite out in Cary, North Carolina. I'm just like, it's like you want to go like 2 hours that way. We can hop in the car if you want to like go throw stones at their building or something. And he's just like, I just think they're going to have a lot of pushback, from games like Overwatch League and stuff like that. And he's just like, I can't believe they're putting so much money into competitive play. And he's literally like so lucid in those moments that it was kind of odd, if I'm honest, because he was sort of borderline hepatic coma. He would have these micro dreams, basically. It's like a restless mind, like a stream of consciousness where your neurons are just firing. And it got to a point where he couldn't figure out which reality was reality. I know that sounds pretty sad, but let me tell you that my husband was very, very humorous, and he never took himself too seriously. So even through those times, he was very, jovial about the whole thing. So I got an idea, and I ran into his office, and I grabbed the figurine of him that we were looking at getting these done at one point. We have a set of 3 of them. So there's one of Jesse and one of Brooke. And I was like, okay, we're going to do this Inception style. This is your totem. And I kid you not, for the 3 days, I think, leading up, this is what he had next to him in bed the entire time. And like every once in a while, you just see him reach over for it, and he would pick it up and hold it. And that's how he knew that this was the actual real world and not these micro dreams, because he was almost like living in VR. That's what he would complain about. He would complain about the frame rate, the quality of his micro dreams. Because he thought that he had this VR, the portable VR, that would go. I can't even remember what it's called now. It's not a Vive, is it? It's just a portable VR thing. I know I've got one too. It's a portable Oculus, I think, actually. Okay. But he had it by the bedside, and he would watch movies in it sometimes, especially like if he was going on a flight. Sometimes he'd take that with him, so that way he felt like he wasn't in a flying tuna can that could potentially fall. He hated flying. But yeah, so he would wear that and play through like VR experiences or watch a movie in VR occasionally. And so that's what he literally thought. He thought that he was doing VR, and he would complain about how things were drawn. It's like, oh gosh, I can't even, like, why? It's like, why did they do this? This doesn't make any sense. Why are they having me go through this hallway into this room? That could have been done so much better. Complaining about it, critiquing until the end. critiquing and yeah. And
critiquing his own dreams.
Yes.
God, what a legend.
Oh.
But yeah. So it's like Inception. We have a totem, and this is like
that was so smart, though.
I was just like, see, it's you. It's just hold it and everything. I didn't want to go into the whole. Well, now that I've held it, it doesn't matter now because it's like I know the weight and I know the shape. I could be off it.
Right.
I didn't go that ham on him. I was just like, no, this is here. If you just look at it and hold it, this is how you know this is the reality. I mean, he could have just nudged me. I was right next to him the whole time, but apparently I was also there in those micro dreams with him.
Right.
So I had no idea else how to be able to tell him, like, this is the reality. Like, please don't go and tweet in your dreams.
What is, if you don't mind me asking, what is a hepatic coma?
So when your liver and kidneys shut down, basically the toxins build up in your body so much that it goes straight to your brain. So
okay.
It is literally, your body is not filtering anything anymore.
Right.
And so, yeah, it just builds up and it makes you kind of foggy. He was on a pain pump and things. So it's, again, he was not in pain. It wasn't like that. But, and he actually kind of enjoyed his micro dreams a bit. Sometimes they were fun. Sometimes they were ridiculous. And
right.
You just catch choice words. It's like, here I am, like, trying to sleep a little bit. And so we're like right next to each other. And he is just continuing the stream of consciousness. I was like, I'm almost asleep. And here he is, just like, man, the new Far Cry. Can you imagine? It's like, there's only one tower. I don't even understand anymore. Like all the games that he just didn't get an opportunity to talk about enough. He definitely took his time and talked about them right then.
He basically did his own podcasts
in his sleep. Yes, yeah. He did. It's like I wish I could have put a camera there, but that would have been disrespectful and horrible. But just so that way people could have seen the stream of consciousness that he went through. It was all about work, always.
Right.
Like, I just want to get up so that way I can go into the office and look at X game or Y game, and yeah. WTF is My Micro Dreams by Genna Bain.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that specifically doesn't surprise me at all. Not only because you said that he critiques stuff in his dreams, but also because anytime we were on the podcast, if he was really focused on a specific game, it was like, all right, guys,
that's where the podcast is going.
Buckle up for an hour. Yeah, we're going to talk about this. I was thinking about how, whenever somebody passes away, you always think like, man, I really wish that we had done this, or I really wish that,
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was thinking the other day was, I wish I hadn't made fun of 4X games so much. It was such a stupid thought, but I was like, I feel bad for always talking about how stupid 4X games are, which I shouldn't, because he always made fun of the games that I liked.
Yeah,
but still,
he did. He even made this sort of portable setup next to the bed. We are fortunate that we had a Tempur-Pedic sort of adjustable bed that adjusts kind of like a hospital bed does.
Yeah.
That's another reason that he obviously wanted to stay at home for everything, because hospital beds are kind of, if you know what I mean. They're not great. And his bed adjusted already, so he's like, I don't have to leave my home. Yes, I'll stay here. But he brought in a laptop so he could try and play some games and things. And he got upset because the one of the nurses that would come to visit actually accidentally kicked his laptop on the floor. He had the display sitting up on this sort of table, over the bed sort of table. So, because of course he did, because of course it had to be a big display, despite the fact of the laptop. And so the HDMI port was a bit bust, and so it was running mini display to display, which isn't that much, I guess, of a common connection anymore. And so she accidentally kicked it with her foot, and John just went off for an entire day about because it had stripped the jacket to the mini display. And so and I know you guys probably don't know the full scope of this office, but it's kind of ridiculous. It's full of wires. Like, I come in here and I'm like, this is the jungle, and these aren't snakes. They're XLR cables, HDMI cables. Like, I'm going through all these cables, and he's like, no, I will not have a mini display to display cable in that office. It's just not going to happen. So he's like, Amazon same daying mini display to display cables, and complaining the entire day about how one nurse wrecked his entire life. I'm like,
his whole setup.
She's here to help you, to help you be in comfort. She's the one hooking up the pain pump, so that way you're not in pain. But no, the pain in his life, not having a mini display to display cable, so that way he could use his laptop and the ginormous display that he had set up on this. I mean, I'm sure that wasn't even safe. Like, that the display of this monitor was probably heavier than the weight limit of that over the table bed.
Right.
And here he is using like the Razer turret, complaining about the Bluetooth and how it's not like it used to be better when we first got it. And I'm just like, you really are just the critic about everything. Yeah. Nurses, gosh, kicking cables, stripping cables. I tried to put it back together, but it was completely stripped from the jacket. And I was like, no, I can't fix this. You're going to need another one. So he orders a 2-pack same day.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Order a 2-pack because just in case the nurse comes back the next day, we'll be prepared.
Right. Jesse, how did you meet John? I don't know this story.
Yeah, I'm officially on, like, I know the minute I start talking about this, I'm gone. So y'all just bear with me here.
We're here for you. We're here for you.
God, years ago, I don't remember if it was, Genna, you would know, I think.
Voice acting through,
like, what was the actual? I know
we had you on WoW Radio because you voice acted for some of the Mind Flame stuff that I was involved with at one time, I think, or maybe it was after that. Maybe it was when we were doing stuff with.
It's been so long. I'm gonna let it fade to history and just be that at some point in time,
you were on the show. I
ended up recording a really awful song for a Warcraft radio contest, and submitted that, and then shortly there was a weird lull of, like, we knew each other from BlizzCon, but, like, yeah, I think that was roughly it. And then when Cataclysm started coming out for Warcraft, it became it became my one true goal to get on the front page of, like, MMO Champion and all those different things. And John was doing the exact same thing.
Oh, yeah.
And his videos were way better. But I was like, I just need to get stuff out before him. And if I can do that, then I win. That's kind of like what it was like. And he would be like, he'd have a better presentation and a better video. And I'd be like, fuck it, I'm going to do voices then. Screw you. And so I changed that. And that was during a time of my life when it was the summer of my 3rd year as a teacher, and it was just for funsies, and we were putting stuff out there on the internet, and that year going back to school, they let us all go, and we basically, long story short, we trained our replacements and they fired all of us, and that sucked. And so I was jobless. I had just like, put it in perspective, I had no money. I had to sell everything I owned except for my computer because I'm a nerd and I needed that thing. Moved back in with my parents, like, just left Ohio, moved to Kentucky. My parents moved to Kentucky to get out of Ohio. That's how boring Ohio is.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah. Moved in with my parents, had nothing but my computer, and everything was gone. I was like $26,000 in debt. I was screwed. And so at the time I was like on Oh my God, I'm trying to think of what that's called. My brain is dead right now. You know, when the government gives you money.
Oh, yeah.
What is that called? Whatever I was effed.
Okay.
Like I was done. And so for fun, in order to keep my spirits up, I was making those videos still, and I was like totally screwed. Unemployment is what it is.
Yeah.
And so they were like, yeah, we can give you like 6 months of unemployment. Good luck. And I was like, cool. And so I went and started making videos for fun because it's all I had. And John messaged me one day and was like, do you want to make money on the internet? And I was like, what?
Yes, Mr.
Like,
British man, tell me more.
like, let me tell you, you can make money making videos. And I was like, what? And I was like, hell yeah, this TGS thing sounds awesome. And I immediately joined with him. And we, you know, like Husky and everyone else who was part of original TGS and Dodger.
Yay.
And that was almost a decade ago.
So long ago.
Scary to think about that, isn't it?
Years,
Yeah.
I think.
And we the first month I think I made like $20. And the second month I made a little bit more, and then I made a little bit more and a little bit more. And over time I was making more than I did as a teacher. And it just to the point where I was like, oh my God, this is a real thing. Like this is a career. And it was then when John was like, this is my John voice. Do you want to do a podcast for the game station? And I was like, okay. He's like, there's this young lady. Her name is Dodger. And
at that point, I had done a terrible clip for one of your videos.
What was that? What was that clip? What did we do together?
There was because I was doing network development for TGS, and you messaged me and you were like, hey, I need a clip of you shaking your head. And I was like, okay. And so I recorded it. And in the video, there's the clip of me shaking my head. And you were like, thanks, Dodger, for filming that in some kind of a bathroom.
It was probably in a bathroom. People don't remember. People do not remember. At the time, you filmed stuff in like a wood-paneled room with like. Hold on. Do I have props to make this happen?
Camera, possibly.
Hold on.
I mean, I remember that camera being kind of.
Does anyone remember Dodger when she had this hair? Like she had hair that like hung down like this, like two little red strands that hung down.
Oh God!
Does anyone remember that? Because I remember that. I
remember that.
Old Dodger, way back when.
Old Dodger.
And yeah, it was one of those things where the podcast came together, and then we did a few episodes when I was still living with my parents, and then I moved to LA because I was fortunate enough to have been given the opportunity to do this, and here I am, and I'm still doing it all these years later. And it's very, very true, 100% that had it not been for John inviting me to do this and guiding me on the way to doing YouTube stuff, that I would not be here. I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't know Dodger, right? We wouldn't be friends. And it's very sweet, but also like sad. And I don't know. I just wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today without him. So yeah. He
was absolutely like my YouTube dad. That's how I always described him, because when we first joined Game Station, he messaged me. He like YouTube messaged me. Nobody uses that shit.
No one uses that.
He YouTube messaged me and was like, hey, I know that we're both going to be on like the ground floor of this thing. I just wanted to reach out and say hi. And we just started like talking, and he would encourage me when I was, really struggling with videos or things, or if I like comments get to me or anything like that, he'd be like, fuck them, you know? And he'd always message me if I made a video that he thought was really good. He'd be like, you should do more content like that, you know, stuff like that. And really supported me. And on Saturday Morning Duger, I was talking about I had never done any kind of like a critique video before, and he wanted to start his This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things series on TBS. And he messaged me and was like, hey, do you want to do a video on a game called Sacrifice? And I said, sure, yeah, that sounds fun. I've never done anything like that, you know? And so we were going to do that video together. And when we started recording it, we got like 5 minutes into the recording, and then he stopped and he goes, you haven't said anything in 5 minutes. Are you okay? And I was like, I'm really nervous. I've never done a video like this before. Like, I don't know what to say. And he was like, it's okay. We could start over as many times as you want. Just say whatever comes to your mind. And if you go and look at that video, it's a lot of me just like laughing to fill space because I didn't know what to say or what to do. But he was so understanding. It was just like, just say, you know, whatever comes to your mind, like trust yourself. And he was always just so like supportive of me in terms of making content and being opinionated and being okay with being opinionated, you know, and I've always been so grateful that he reached out, because I don't know that I would have reached out to him. I don't know that I would have had the confidence to do that. So
it's difficult to be unapologetic about having an opinion about, it's like all these game developers and people come around, you know, together to make something and put something out there, like making a baby and delivering a baby into the world. And here my husband is basically telling everyone, your baby is ugly.
Right.
So yeah, I totally get it that other people would not want to do that, because who does that?
Speaking of babies, I'm going to posit a theory. I'm going to put this out there.
Yes.
Had I not met John, I would not have met any of the Oxcast guys. I would not have realized that Simon Lane is my doppelganger. I would not in 2012 have gone to visit them with Dodger, who then in 2012 met Sam Strippin.
I see where this is going.
Who then later got married to and had a baby with, hence vis-a-vis, Genna Bain's responsible for that child.
It's true.
I'm just putting it out there. That baby is a Bain baby. It's a fact. And I guarantee there have been a lot of Bain babies over the years around the world.
I don't
John's responsible. I'm putting it out there. I'm just positing this to the world.
Right.
I don't.
The butterfly effect.
Yeah.
It's a Bain butterfly baby, is what you're saying.
A Bainterfly.
A Bainterfly,
if you will. The Bainterfly effect.
I remember him being still kind of out of it when Clark was born. And he, you know, obviously medicated. John is very interesting. Sometimes he tweets things and stuff would just not make sense, but then dog retweet photos. So, hey, we're good. Right. But I remember him reading like the update and everything. He's like, is that a last name? Isn't that a last name? And I'm just like, oh. And he's like, why does it have an E? But even with an E, isn't that a last name? And I'm just like, no comment on, oh, this baby is so cute. Oh, you know, so proud of Duger.
Last name. Does she know?
Does she know?
We need to tell her.
It's like that was the important thing. So
that's pretty funny.
I just thought that was a bit odd, because I was expecting, you know, him to, you know, give some sort of, because he was, you know, stoic exterior but heart of gold, and so he always let his guard down around me and his friends. But I was just expecting him to, you know, just be proud of you and Sam, and you know, because he would even tell me, he's like, well, don't message Brooke these, you know, things, because I don't want her to have any kind of complications. Like, he was so, like, I was like, oh, you actually, you know, care that, you know, you don't want to put her in any kind of stress, you know, around the birth of her child. Like, oh, that's so
that was
sweet.
Really sweet.
But then doesn't she know that's a last name?
That's a last name.
It's like,
it's not John, but that's okay.
But it's just the
Clark, it's a very
validity.
normal name.
It was like, can she do that? It's like she can name her baby whatever she wants. But no, that was the, didn't comment on how cute it was. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. Doesn't she know that's
Yeah, I know that
my husband?
He said that that you guys didn't even post about like his situation until after we had the baby. And I was like, you guys didn't have to do that. Like I thought that was just so sweet,
We just wanted to, make sure that there were no, but again, him heart of gold, but on the outside, all stoic and holds everything together. And I think that's what makes it hard. I think that's what makes this grieving process difficult, is because of how he was with everyone else and then how he was with us.
Right.
It was different.
Yeah, for sure.
And now Chad is literally just nothing but last name Clark. Clarky Clarkerson.
Clarky Clarkerson.
My favorite one so far is Kent Clark. I just like that one. Oh, so Kent Clark.
Clark.
Sweet Kent Clark. When we were doing pre-show, Genna and I were laughing because somebody in chat was like, if TB were here, this would have started on time. And we were like, have you watched this show?
It would never start on time.
I would have made sure of that.
Like Jesse's still stuck in traffic. He would come through and do this whole rolly eye thing where it's like, oh, so-and-so isn't like, and it was usually like the person who was a guest, not the pillars. It was usually the guest. It's like, oh, well, so-and-so is having issues with their microphone or their, because it is a bit to ask. I mean, I've sat here for the past 2 days trying to figure out how to work this massive audio video setup that is just like, people are like, oh, XSplit's easy. It'll be fine. You'll be fine. And I'm like, you don't understand. There's like a thing here. I don't know if I can show this massive stream deck here with all these buttons. And if I push any of these buttons, the scene changes. And there's like 11 or something different scenes that we can have on the show, and screen wipes and titles. And the last title that he wrote was from when Dodger had just gone off to her maternity leave. And I had done a podcast with him. And it's literally, if I can pull it back up here, if I can get over to it. It's literally the Harry Potter iOS game title. He would put it into a text thing that would somehow make its way into XSplit to show a title on the screen as to what we were discussing. It's like, now discussing this. Now discussing Harry Potter Child Death Simulator from that iOS game. So, yeah, coming into your husband's computer, like, raw. It's like I'm like crying. I'm like picking up like trash because he was a very messy person on the way just to make room to get to the computer. And that's the first thing I see. And I'm just like,
Harry Potter Child
Death Child. Yeah. And I'm just like, you know what? Thanks, John. Because I needed that smile. I really needed that because I was in such a bad place. And I was just coming through here with a bin bag. I'm like, I can't believe he didn't clean up his room ever. I don't know why. But I'm just feeling very sorry for myself. And Harry Potter Child Death Simulator.
Mm-hmm. It's a good title.
Game.
I just want to point out, as you were showing John's stream deck, he convinced me to buy one of those.
Oh no!
And I just want to point out for the record, Dodger, if you ever decide to come back into the office one day, you'll see that on my stream deck, which is sitting nicely on my desk.
Sure.
I have only one button set up, and I press it, and it says, "Thanks for the bits." That's literally all it does. Yeah, I've never used this thing, and I feel terrible because apparently it's very, very good. ? I'm just like,
yeah, Sam loves his.
Okay, thank you for the bits. Like, that's all I have. So
this has like so much stuff on it too. I'm not sure if I can like show like how close it is.
I have one thing.
But it's him. It's all little
look at all those little faces though.
Oh. So it's like ads and video and music and the intro and the end of the show. I like the end of the show is like the little skull.
Those are like, so cute.
Yeah. So all of them have like their own little function, and like even the bumpers are like the Bobby version, and beginning the show, and even Twitch ads, and the mics being on and off, different folders. And I'm just like, how am I supposed to produce this? I don't know.
Right.
It seems very well put together. If you ever need someone to ask for bits, I got you. I can do that. Very good at that.
Side note, when you were talking about when somebody would be having technical difficulties, I think something that will always stick with me is every time a person came on this show as a guest on a tablet, and John would be like, sorry, what are you using? It was just so pure. Just like, what? Like somebody just, I'm on my iPad. And he's like,
yeah, really?
So good. I love it. And all the times that he said he would never ask Krendor back on the show.
And then he
Krendor
did.
was always back. I loved it.
Yeah, we need to memorialize the fact that every time Krendor was on, every time John would be like, I'm never inviting him back ever again. And every time he'd do it, he just keep doing it. And every time he'd be like, well, that was a mistake. And then he'd just invite him back again. Every time.
Krendor's a way of warming his way into your heart.
That's the thing. I think for as
subconsciously he wanted him to be there.
for as professional and as serious as John tried to be on this show, you can't stop a good Krendor when he's on a roll, when he's being weird. That is gold. So I feel like deep down inside, even though it became a train wreck of a show, it was like, you know what? That's a train wreck we can do every once in a while. And I feel like,
Do you remember when Krendor ran one of these? And John was like, that was the biggest garbage I've ever seen in my life. It was just like,
no.
All right, so we're on the news. Anybody got some news?
Let the record stand. It wasn't just once. It happened a few times. He kept giving Krendor control because if you remember, for those who don't know the behind the scenes, Dodger and I, every time John's like, would you take over? We're like, oh God, no. It's the worst. No, we don't want that responsibility.
I think I did it
like,
once.
I'll do it.
Jesse did it a bunch.
He was just I will do this for you. And oh no. After a few times, John was just like, no, Jesse, from now on it's you. Deal with it. I was like, okay. So,
because when Krendor ran it, you basically ran it anyway. Because Krendor would be like, so what are we doing next? It was amazing.
Oh,
shout out to Krendor. We love you, buddy.
Oof. That boy. that little sloth boy.
That sweet little sloth boy.
Can I tell you, for years, by the way, I just imagined him as a sloth. Just putting it out there.
Krendor?
Yeah.
Like before, I remember the PAX where he like revealed himself, sort of.
Oh,
like
it was a BlizzCon. Oh, Eric posted the photo to the internet like a few days ago of him and I. Don't look at that photo. We look like different people. It's weird looking. But that was we look like young babes. And that's it's not okay. But yeah. So and that was when the love affair began, and then I was like, I know this guy, John. I know this guy who it's pretty funny if you want to have him on the podcast. TV was like, well, I'll give him a shot, and the rest is history.
Love it.
Oof. Yeah.
I still miss when we would go out to like dinners and stuff, like at conventions, and we let Krendor pronounce the wine list.
That's my favorite.
And John would just lose it. John would just.
Let's set the scene, if you will. The most recent time, I don't remember. We went to somewhere, who knows where.
Somewhere.
But let's set the scene where every time we go out, Krendor shows up in Krendor brand sloth pants and a hoodie.
Typically a really nice dinner, side note.
Oh yeah, like a very nice, very fancy dinner. Mm-hmm. Sloth pants. He's like, I just want to be comfortable, and he'd sit down and he'd immediately grab the wine list. And John would just stare at him like, oh no, what is about to happen?
Happening.
And the waiter would always come over, and Krendor would always be like, I'll have the cabinet sovereign. And the waiter would look at him and look at John, and then everyone would look at the waiter, and Krendor would just be like, and He's waiting for us to be like, is this a joke? No joke. Zero joke. Zero joke. That cabinet sovereign was delicious, by the way. And yeah, he would.
The only comparison I can kind of make is like Ferris Bueller and the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like Krendor is Ferris Bueller, and John was the principal who go after him and punish him for skipping school and being so popular and having so many friends and ways out of doing things, because obviously he was like, miserable in his own little environment. And that's the whole thing, is like John just didn't know how to like let go and have fun in those little situations and just humor Krendor. No. He would just give him like the look, just the very intense Bueller look. And,
I like to imagine. I like to imagine that in this scenario, I'm that lady who's like, he's a righteous dude.
Yeah, yes, you are. The attendance lady. She was awesome.
Oh, that Ferris, he's a righteous dude. Yeah. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah. I loved every opportunity that we had to just like grab dinner all together.
Same.
Those were always such nice decompression times, and
we would fight over who gets to pick the restaurant. I think the last time he got to pick that you guys were there was, I think, in Seattle, the place where the
that was like on the creek
came
or whatever.
from the ceiling.
Yeah. The Pink Door or something.
Yeah, the Pink Door.
Oh my God! Never mind.
So
that place
good.
was incredible.
Yeah, where the aerialist with the silks and
Jesse
stuff.
got to be directly under the aerialist. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna take your head off. Like,
legit was kind of scared.
It was. I mean, I know they're saying it's an aerialist and whatever, but it was erotic. Let's not pretend. John selected erotic aerial dancing, and I'm okay with that. People don't know this. Huge fan of erotic aerial dancing. He would always say, I love it when they're nude and in the air. And I was like, yeah, I agree. No one was nude. It was
no, but very like sparkly and very not
it was
a lot of clothing, obviously, but
an amazing dinner. Yeah, it's this place. If you ever go to PAX in Seattle, it's this place. It's down by the water and by the wharfs and piers and whatever. But it was just, we were just eating dinner, but they do like a show, and there's a woman who was spinning above us the entire time, and I can't even count the number of times random customers was almost like kicked in the head by this woman. At one point, some guy like,
don't walk like through there when she's doing her thing, and people would be like,
yeah.
like trying to judge when to run through, and we were like, this person's gonna die.
This old man almost got
he almost
decapitated. It was insane. But I loved every minute of that.
It's like, meanwhile, all three of us are like sharing a cheese board, and we're like, and just like watching, and here John is over here. I don't eat this stuff, and but he's the one who picked the place, so he was always a picky eater. But I kind of love him for that in a way. But he would go to like the finest restaurants, because he liked food. He enjoyed food. He loved like a good steak, that kind of thing.
You guys took us to incredible places.
We tried to.
That place in Atlanta, was like.
Oh my God! It's closed, right?
They closed Asante. They closed it. Yeah, I was so sad when I found out they closed
the best food I've ever had.
I know. I think I took you guys out to maybe Canoe, out by the water. I can't remember if you guys were with us or not. I think we were, because I think I came back from wine country, and I was like, hey, Jesse Cox, let me tell you about this wine. I can't remember, and you told me I was right.
Love to drink.
The Sangiovese. we had a bottle of Sangiovese, and I'm like, Jesse, you just wait for it to happen. We're gonna have this. It was another cheese board. Why do we do charcuterie a lot, don't we?
A little mezza plate is fine. You just gotta like.
I mean, it is easy.
Yeah, and everyone just like, ooh, is that a little pickle?
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
But it's like, we would do wine and stuff, and John doesn't drink wine, and so most of the time it was John trying to like pick these amazing restaurants and then get very picky about the way people should prepare the food, and it's like, well, I don't want any onions, I don't want any of this or that, and so it's just like, imagine going to like a fine restaurant where chefs carefully prepare and balance meals with acidity and flavors and all these things, and John just being like, I'm a critic.
Can you take like 6 things off of this?
Yeah.
I've always believed, and this is my thought, and I refuse to be corrected on this. I've always believed that John didn't do it because he wanted to eat there. He did it because he wanted to like make everyone else happy and go to a place that would really impress them.
Oh yeah.
And he would be like, see, look at all this awesome stuff. I hate it, but this is awesome, isn't it? And it's like,
I don't like it, but you will eat it.
yeah. I've always imagined that he was like, I want to take my friends someplace awesome. And it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God. Yeah. The whole, for your guys' anniversary, the whole Vegas trip was just you guys being like, let's take you to the most incredible restaurants. And I'm like scared to go back to Vegas because I'm like, we won't eat nearly as well.
They have stuff for every price point. I will say that about Vegas. They do definitely have things for every single price point. But John and we spent almost, I won't say every anniversary because that's not true. I mean, we were separated for 3 years dealing with the visa stuff. So he was in England and where we couldn't even be in the same country for goodness.
Yeah, that was going on right when I met him.
Yeah, it was when TGS was first getting like kicked off and the recession had hit. So I had been laid off from my job and I couldn't afford to support his visa to even have him here. It was IGN who actually eventually got him that celebrity visa to have him over
There's a celebrity visa?
The O1 visa. That was the first of its kind at that point, sort of where it was like a esports sort of personality type of visa.
Incredible.
Yeah, it took a lot. The people at IGN at that time did a lot of great things to help us out. And he did do the work for IGN for like IPL through esports and everything. Right. But it's like I can't even begin to go back in time and relive those painful memories of being separated for that long. It's like, hey, we got married. Now we're going to be separated for 3 years while immigration figures all this out. So we went through so many hard times. The recession hit me. I was laid off. He was working at a financial advisory that was not a job that he wanted to do. I know he hated that job so much. And so when TGS came along with the opportunity, that was just like, whoa, that saved us in such a big way. And then of course he always, felt like he always had to pass it on, definitely that was one thing that I very much admired about him is that he would not just take for himself. He always wanted to give to other people, give them that opportunity. It's like, well, hey, I guess in a way he sort of semi-discovered the Yogscast in a way of, they were already doing content, but he's the one
BS. He totally did. He totally did. Let's not beat around the bush. Yeah. Many of the top YouTubers over the years, John directly was responsible for them succeeding. So everyone has to grow on their own, but at the start, that man was the reason a lot of people got started. So
for sure.
I'm glad that those things happened, and that because again, it's about his legacy living on, and it's beyond one human lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that he touched so many people's lives, and that so many people will remember him with the same fondness that, maybe not the exact same fondness. I don't know. I've heard stories. I've seen the fan art. The same fondness I had for him.
That was an era.
Point of order.
There's more Jesse and John fan art than there is fan art of me and him, and I find that very unsettling sometimes.
Not me. I'm very flattered. But
they do always draw you very ripped, to be fair.
That's true. I've never looked better than I do in fan art. However, I do have just like, I get that his online persona was like, tough British cynical guy.
Yeah.
Thus, he was always the top. But come on, y'all. In reality, he was a goofy goober. He could have been the bottom every once in a while. I am not okay. My animated butt was destroyed. I can't. Why? Why was I always the bottom? I'm not okay with that. I'm just saying. I feel like every once in a while we would have switched up, right?
Right.
That's what relationships do. You gotta be there for each other. I'm just saying. For me. Speaking of goofy goober.
Yes.
Videos exist on the internet somewhere. I don't know where, but I know they do. One time, Jenna and John and Dukes came over to my apartment when I first moved to LA.
Connect videos.
Oh my gosh.
And we spent a whole day. We recorded a podcast where we drank really awful $1.50 champagne. We ate
funnel cake.
Oh
Funnel
my!
cake.
Oh, yeah. John, he was like, "Well, I want to get some food."
Was it a Twinkie or funnel cake? I can't remember.
Oh,
Maybe
it was all sorts of stuff. He was like, "I want to get some food. I'm hungry. What's nearby?" And I was like, I don't know. And he looked up on his phone and he found Santa Monica Boardwalk food. And he's like, okay. He ordered all the crappy food you would buy at like a fair. So there was like a deep fried Twinkie and a funnel cake and just the grossest things in the world. And he was just like sampling all of them. And I know those videos exist.
Yeah, they do. That's how I started my channel. That's literally how I started my channel. That's probably like the first video on my entire channel is literally him like eating the deep fried Twinkie, I think, and his reaction. And I'm just like, you know what? The world needs to see this.
I can't even...
Because I can't just contain it all.
I don't know what happened. I don't know why he was inspired to do this, but that is like the goofy John I know and love. That's just like, I want to get weird stuff from the Santa Monica Boardwalk. And I was like, why? And then also, I guess we were probably very drunk. But, it's when we found the Jaffa cakes that were from the 1800s that...
Yep, I ate those.
I am curious if that's still on the Wikipedia page, because... that year, if you went to the year that Jaffa cakes were, I don't know if it was like 1872 or whatever. If you scroll,
that's right.
If you scroll all the way down, it literally said Dodgers Jaffa cakes as like the year it was made or whenever it was made, like the 1300s, whenever it was, like 1272. Whenever that happened, it should still be there. It was an incredible moment. And then we danced way.
Connect, right? Like the Star Wars
Connect dance game.
That's when I learned I'm a much better dancer than everyone else. Let the record show that I'm so good. I'm now listed as BuzzFeed's 13th worst dancer in history.
Oh, what?
There's a video of me shaking my ass on, but like it's. You're welcome, world. And that was it was an incredible night, and it was one of those things where it's like. I'm happy I get to do the podcast with all of you and we get to like be stupid together. There are more gifts created from that night than I think should be allowed.
I had to change batteries like 3 or 4 times. I was like, I'm filming all of this.
I will constantly find new. I found another one the other day because I was like looking around at gifts. There's one where like we open the champagne and like it sprays. It's dirty. I'm like trying to stop it. It's spraying in my face. What a crazy day that was.
Love it.
Yeah, that's one of the few times it was caught on film, but that's par for the course. I know the internet saw John as like a beacon, like we must be 60 FPS and it must have this. This is how I think, and I'm very opinionated. But let the record show he was a goofy goober and will continue in my mind to be so. So, I'll never forget all the weird stuff we got into.
We were at your place and he was rationalizing Terraria and the like dynamic between you two.
He had to rationalize it because it drove him crazy.
But the video that I captured from him doing that, and he's like sitting in your chair in your apartment, like, swiveling around, talking about the reason that this works, and literally like stopping his voice as he turns, is because of the fool. And
oh my God, that's right.
Yeah. And it's on my channel, and and like in the end he like threw his hat sideways or something. I don't know. It was so weird, but I'm just like, this is the John I wish that some people would be able to see, and I think that's why I started my channel, is because I really wanted the world to know that it wasn't always stoic, WTF videos, and those were always seem super serious.
Yeah.
In a way, it's kind of weird because it's like you're literally playing like the first 15 minutes of a game you've never played before, and I never understood like how can that actually be serious? I'd be like messing up. It's like, what button do I press? What am I doing? This is so weird. How can you play and talk and commentate at the same time? But no, he would just be so zoned in. He would have all these opinions and the ability. The one thing I will always remember is that he was able to recall like facts, just like boom, Like most people are like, oh, let me go to the Wikipedia for this and find out.
That
like,
sort of
has
thing
this
always
developer-
blows my mind.
Yeah, it's like, has this developer made anything else or something? No, he would know. And he'd be able to tell me, no, they were from this studio. And then before that, they worked at this studio and they made this game. But this game sucked because it had this element in it. And they carried the element into a different game. But this was during a time when that element was very popular in gaming culture. And I'm just like, who?
He knew his shit, man.
He was like,
I never liked him for that. Every time we got in an argument, he'd be like, let me bombard you with facts. I'm like, I can't even win with you. Even if I tried all the time, and I never won an argument. I would constantly
he had
be like,
a law degree. What do you want? I mean, he studied law.
he would always come to Jesse and I and be like, don't just let me take over the podcast. You need to make sure that, your opinions are getting out there and tell me when I'm being an asshole and all this other stuff. And we'd be like, it's so hard though, because you're so persuasive.
And he would read things, and of course, I think everybody knows like his response to things like Reddit and stuff, where he would read about himself after the fact. It would be like, so and so, TotalBiscuit like totally steamrolled over this guest. He should have let him talk more and stuff. And I'm just like, you haven't been there. You don't know what it's like to come on this show and be like thrust into like, here are these pillars. They're called pillars for a reason because they've been standing here since the beginning.
Apparently, I'm the bottom pillar.
And then like John is there, and it's like, I don't know, it's like the moment like in Almost Famous sort of where it's like they're talking about the guitarist, he's on the shirt and like everybody else is in the background. It's like if there were a co-optional shirt, it might actually be John like visible in the front, and then the silhouette of Jesse and Dodger hanging out in the background looking away. It's that we're here too. Yeah.
He always wanted to like figure out how to not let that happen though.
Yes.
Like he knew that about himself.
Right. No, he's very conscious about it. He did everything possible to not have that happen, and then still got crucified for it on the other side. And that's what he couldn't handle. He's like, because no one ever understood the struggle, the turmoil. He tried to let that not happen, but it's difficult to say, I need you to come at me. But yet you're like, I don't wanna.
I would always, and I'd always lose, but I'd always do it.
There'd always be a point where everybody in chat is like, poor Jesse. And John would be like, no, not poor Jesse. He gave up. He gave up in the fight.
Because I never really had an argument ever to begin with. I would just be like, okay, someone's got to devil's advocate this thing. I'm going in, put the hat on like I'm ready. And then I just get obliterated every time and be like, cool. All right, well, I'll be in the corner now. Without fail. I think maybe once in like 8 years that I finally get a win, and it was like, yes! And then I went out and like, I don't know.
Did you like get yourself like the biggest cake and you were like, yay me?
Speaking of which, for this podcast, I did buy a cake. I want to put that out there for the record. Does anyone remember? I bought a $60 cake.
Oh shit, you're right.
Oh,
One episode.
I remember that.
One episode we decided we like found weird stuff online, and I was like, wait,
that you could have shipped to you.
It's what does a $60 cake taste like? So I ordered that, and it didn't taste like it was worth the money, that's for sure.
It was normal ass cake.
Yeah, it was just normal cake. So yeah, we've all done stupid things on this podcast, me more than others, but that's what happens when you're the bottom.
Just full circle over and over again.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The dynamic will definitely never be the same. I wish I could tell everybody that, hey, nothing's going to change. We're still going to be covering gaming news, and it's still going to be, the biggest gaming podcast on the internet, and everything is going to be fine. But it's difficult to say that without such a strong personality sitting in this chair.
It'll be different.
It will be different. Yeah. But Jesse, I guess, maybe won't be the bottom anymore.
Oh my God.
It's your time, Jesse.
Your time.
Thank you so much for lying to me in front of all these people. We all know that's not going to change. Not at all. Don't pretend like that's going to change at all. I don't know where we go with this. I don't know what the podcast will become, but it won't be the same, and I don't think anyone should expect that. But we will strive and endeavor to create something just as entertaining and honoring John's spirit, and trying to, occasionally talk about games.
I was going to say occasionally talk about video games.
Yeah.
But I truly
we need to get you
don't know.
some backup, though, because right now this is a very female-centric situation that you find yourself
fine.
in.
If we want to bring on another woman, I'll be okay. I know.
It's like you need me to call somebody, and just three girls and Jesse, the new podcast.
That would be a great podcast. I'd be happy to
rename it Three Girls and Jesse.
Happy to be here every day. I'd show up and be like, what are we talking about today, ladies? Yeah.
He'd move it. It'd be a daily podcast. We can't just have a weekly daily podcast.
Doesn't Krendor still have that red wig when he tried to pretend to be Dodger? We could just bring him on as
for a
Dodger.
while. Oh my God. Yeah. For a while there, Krendor would come on if I couldn't be here, and he'd wear that wig.
I'm just saying.
Totally forgot about that.
That'd be a podcast. I don't know if it'd be a good one, but it'd be a podcast.
It would be a podcast that exists. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely one of those things where I think a lot of feedback from the audience and from people watching, all of you watching right now, will sort of determine where we head from here. But I know on our end, there's no rush to jump back into it. Mm-hmm. But I have no clue what will happen. So I'm here. I know Dodger's here. I know Jenna's here. So
yeah, and I know that John wanted this podcast to carry on. That's the thing that's difficult. It's like if it was just like this memorial episode, and then the podcast just whatever
drifts off into the sunset. Yeah.
Right. Then I think that there are a lot of people who'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
John was not one of them. That's the struggle, is that I know that was his wish, that it continue on. That I think it's mostly because he wanted conversations to happen about video games and about the video game industry, and that injustices be brought to light and things be talked about. And sure, that might be maybe 5 minutes of a 2-hour podcast, but those are those 5 minutes, and the rest could sure be him slamming some random feature in a game that nobody plays, but that was him.
Yeah.
I truly don't think that any of us can fill that window screen in any way that will be reasonably close to the standards and the ideas that John had, just because personality-wise, the things that really sparked us and pushed us forward are different. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens next. But I definitely would not, don't expect any of the three of us to suddenly try to become John, because it's not gonna happen. Right,
and he wouldn't want that either.
Oh, no. Are you kidding me? He'd be furious.
If someone tried to be him, yeah. that would be something. I mean, it's already enough for me to be sitting here in his chair with his mic and all of his equipment and a million Star Trek ships surrounding me, and
dream.
It's very, and so on top of that, now I'm going to have to go play a lot of PC games and do these things. And that's the whole thing. And that's what he always wanted. I was just always like, well, maybe I'll go off and do a degree in nursing or something like that. We've been in and out of hospitals. There's a lot of people who are in need of patient advocacy, and there's so much injustice in how hospitals are operated and things like that. And he's like, you already have a job. Your job is to manage me. You're CEO of this company. If you want to make money, put stuff on your channel. Film the animals. Film that.
Film the animals.
Film the animals. Yeah, the dogs that we have, or the cats, or the chinchillas, or the fish. We have, a menagerie. But that was this whole thing. It's why would you want to go do that when you could make more money by filming something over here for or doing the Warframe video that I made, where I crapped on Warframe for probably about an hour or something, because he made a Warframe video, and I'm like, you are so wrong. I played the same game, and I don't feel that way. And he's like, well, go make a video. And so I did. It was like the one time where I was like, fine, I'm going to go make that video. And then I did, and then it blew up on the internet. And that was scary. And I had people who didn't like me very much, and that was weird and uncomfortable feeling. So on the internet, I know. I was a girl and I dared to play a game on the internet and I didn't like it. And so I told people about it and then they judged me. So yeah, I very much relate, Brooke, with that moment where you're like, you know, having to be unapologetic for your opinions and how he encouraged that. He was that encouragement. And even though John and I did not agree on Warframe, and he still, like, you know, contends that's like such a good game, and I agree, it is a good game. It's not that, it was just the fact that there was like a lack of proper tutorial. Even the devs acknowledged that there was a lack of proper tutorial.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like we were kind of in agreement, but that was the one time where I did do that, and he's just like, well, now you need to do that with every game. And I'm like, you don't seem to realize that taking care of you and doing all the things that it is that I do as a CEO actually consume a lot of time. I don't actually sit and play as many games as he would get his hands on. He would just go through games so quickly. And I never understood really how one person can go through so many games and still not get confused by them. Like it seems like 5 years of roguelites that came out one right after another. It's like, how do you keep all these games straight in your head? But it was just like, it's in the archive. Like when I came in here, I put the headphones on for the first time. I'm like, wow, I'm having to adjust these down a lot. How is his head this big? It's because it was the archives. All the video games were in that man's head, and that's why the headphones were so big.
Yeah.
But so don't expect the podcast obviously to be the same. It will be different, but you know, we'll do the best we can. We'll do what we can. We'll talk about video games, and I know he would have wanted it that way. Yeah, he always wanted me to make more videos. He's like, just make more videos. You can make more money doing one video about a game than you can working like a week as a nurse. And I'm just like, yeah, but that's not how the world works, John. You know, the world needs nurses too. And what if that was like my calling? What if that's what I wanted to do? No, it wasn't that. It's like video games and videos.
This is not your calling, Genna.
I know. I was told what my calling was by him. And in a way, he was very much right. I was very fortunate to be able to be at home. And I know some people, maybe they are in this situation where they get to be like a mom who is able to be at home. And that's like such a huge thing. It's like my son had a recital or something like that. I would be able to be there instead of having to be like, oh, well, I have to be at work from this time to this time. Pros and cons of the self-employed situation. There is no punching out, and that is stressful. You don't work, you don't eat. That is stressful. But the freedom to do as many things as John and I got to do, travel, just spending time with our son, you know, all of those things. I'm so grateful and eternally grateful that we had those years. And yeah, I had him for 11 years. And you know, there's so many videos that he put up on the internet that I know the world will have more than 11 years of, you know, time and experience with him, because people will find those archived videos and everything. So in a way, I feel like I'm rambling now. He would tell me, stop talking, you're rambling, so just shut up.
He was a rambler. Commit.
Yeah. No, that's...
I'm gonna
be unapologetic.
I'm trying. I'm just glad that there are some people who come in this life and out of this life without a lot of people noticing that they have been or have existed or have passed. And I know for a fact that if I throw my husband's name into a Google search, his name's going to come up for a long time to come. And, you know, there is something slightly comforting about that. I am not the only one who will have known that he was a great man.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not. No, not gonna happen. Not gonna do it. Not gonna cry. Oh, okay. Struggle. The struggle is real. So I am grateful that he was the person he was, because there will be so many more people who, you know, will have known him and will continue his memory. And yeah, they say the internet never forgets, right? Well, I don't think they'll forget him.
No way, not a chance.
So in a way, that's kind of comforting. It's like John didn't want to be like buried. He was not that, he wanted to be cremated. That was his choice. And so it's kind of like one of those things like cemetery markers, I guess, kind of like a tombstone sort of. That is kind of the only proof that sometimes we have that, hey, this person existed. They lived from here to here. But he has so much of a wider berth than that. The entire video collection on the internet of his opinions, his thoughts, feelings, and very, very staunch opinions, very much let you know his thoughts on matters that you were comfortable with, you weren't comfortable with, you didn't even know you cared about. So I think that's really special.
Yeah, for sure.
Sort of immortalizing in a way. I don't think you would have liked that word, but yeah. Fun fact, might sound a bit morbid, but John wanted his remains to be put in our GSTL championship trophy for StarCraft 2.
Amazing.
Our Axiom team.
Of course he did.
And it was actually kind of, I sort of put the idea in his head because I kept on reading these headlines, so-and-so losing their battle with cancer. And I'm just like, you know what? I kind of hate when people say that. Lost their battle with cancer. Did they? Did they really? Because I feel like we as a world have actually kind of failed those people because we haven't found a cure yet.
Right.
And I don't feel like my husband lost his battle with cancer. I don't.
He fought his ass off.
He fought so hard for so many years.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, his remains are going into a trophy because he was a champion. And
absolutely.
I get to look at that trophy and know that he's always with me.
Yeah.
Said I wasn't going to cry. Said it wasn't going to happen. I almost made it.
I'm going to miss him, man. I'm going to miss him so much. But because he was such a force of nature, I know that there are going to be so many moments where I'm like, what would John have told me to do?
Oh gosh. What would TotalBiscuit
do?
Be bigger than the bracelets we had in the 90s.
Right.
There's just too much text. They're all just droopy. Yeah.
Commandments of Genna Bain. Thou shalt not play video games with less than X field of view without Y frame rate.
I
Right.
have to Genna, you don't even need to worry about tears. Mostly because I thank God for Dodger, because I literally every time I'm about to open my mouth, I'm like,
I know.
Hang on, Jesse. Just hang on. So thank you, Dodger, as well for talking.
No, exactly. No, I feel the same way. Both of you have cheered me up so much, and it's awkward to say, but I know a lot of people probably like, why are you even doing a podcast? Because it's the same reason that kind of I don't know if you guys remember after 9/11 how they had the Academy Awards kind of right after that, and people are like, why people celebrating, why are these things happening? It's right. For them it was I think Nicole Kidman actually said in her Oscar speech when she accepted her Oscar, it's because art is important, and because these are things that make us laugh, these are the ways that we cope. Going to the theater and watching a movie. I totally and fully intend to go and watch Deadpool 2 at some point this week, just so that way I can, have a bit of a separation, I guess, a bit just from the real life, because right now life is very, very real for me. And just very raw, and it's ugly and it's not great. But that's why this podcast is airing today, because well, one, is what he wanted, but because the show is important, because hopefully this will help other people cope in a way. And give them some sort of, not so much closure, but help us all move forward, to get together and to laugh and to remember that, yeah, he was more than just a man. He was a force, and a force that helped us laugh, a force that sure definitely forced me to cry sometimes in a good way and bad way. But yeah. Ramble.
Yeah, he was a supportive, incredible friend to all of us. And like I said, I'll miss him for sure. I'll miss being able to reach out and be like, "What do you think about this?" And I'll miss like the fact that he was so good at sort of grounding my thoughts. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll miss that he tried to ground my thoughts, but never succeeded. No, I think a podcast like this, at the end of the day, is about the fact that even though John's gone, we're all still here, and we all still have to, day by day, keep going.
Yeah. And we're in it together.
That's life, y'all. So you just gotta carry on and do the best you can and hope you do some good for the world. And we're all here for each other. So that's what this is about, I think. Is
that an awareness against bad video games, because he would not have stood for it if we didn't point them out. The injustice in this world.
Yeah.
Yep. And
video games was Gotham and he was Batman. That's how he always kind of saw it.
He was Batman?
Sure.
He was Batman?
Sure. You could be his Robin. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm Robin? I'm always the bottom. This is not fair. You didn't even say you didn't even say you could be Nightwing. You didn't even give me an option. You're like, you're Robin.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm his ward, his boy wonder. Come on.
There are lots of Robins to choose from, to be fair.
All of them suffer horrible fates. Every single one of them. Every single Robin is an emotional wreck.
It's true. I mean, to be fair, okay, fine. I guess John could have totally just been Bane, because I know he did the whole Bane thing, the impersonations, the entire year. It seems that film was big. Through the drive-through, the pharmacy drive-through, he didn't drive because he didn't drive. I drove him everywhere,
right.
and including crazy. But we would go through the CVS pharmacy drive-through, and he would do this. He would go up to the speaker. It's just like, "My name is John Bain. I'm here to pick up my prescription." He's just Bane, and it's just
amazing.
It's and he would just So my husband, the serious one, Bane in the drive-through.
We need to go back. Why can't I be Batman? And why can't he be Commissioner Gordon? I'm just I have questions. Dodger has frozen, but in the happiest I've ever seen her be.
This is true. I don't think we can
smile is the purest smile.
Pure joy.
Pure joy. Just a wonderful smile. I'm happy with that. I don't know if she's gone. She disappeared, but it's fine.
No.
Yeah, she's a blurry smile. And that's really all she'll be.
And you're worried about being Robin. Dodger's just a blur. What?
Yeah. Then she's gone, and now we're all over the place on the screen. Yeah. This is, you know what? This is exactly the way the podcast should be.
Of course, naturally.
Maybe nothing will change.
No. Same as it always was. And actually, if this is Gotham, I guess Dodger is Mr. Freeze, Mrs. Freeze.
She messaged me, lost internet. So perfect. Mwah, perfect. The way it should be. Hello, everyone. Hi.
It's a Brady Bunch in a very
strange... they see your arm, and Dodger is now half your face and my microphone stand. You are the top of your head, and I am waving. Yeah. This is exactly perfect. This is perfect. I don't know where this girl has gone, but
I don't know. The void. The internet doesn't exist in her house anymore.
I feel like this might be the perfect place to end for today because it just seems fitting.
It's very typical.
Yeah. And I will say I'll let you have the final word, obviously, but I will say on behalf of myself and Dodger and all of the co-optional family, like, we're so thrilled that all of you came today. We're so thrilled that all of you came. I'm trying so they can see me. We're so thrilled that all of you came today to talk about John with us. And we love that man, and we're going to miss him a lot. And hopefully you will share with us some fun stories, memories of him, and tweet at us or wherever you're going to post them. But feel free to do so. We would love to hear it. And hopefully you can see my mouth when I say thank you so much. And together we're going to continue on in his memory and create more special memories for you, and hopefully remind you all that no matter what, John would want us to laugh and have a good time and talk about games occasionally. So Genna, you can take it away.
Yeah, so he definitely would. And, you know, he did always want the best for everybody, despite what some people might say, or how he might have appeared, you know, stoic as he was. But he had a heart of gold. He didn't expose it very often to people he didn't know in person, you know, or friends or people that he wasn't acquainted with or worked with. But when he let his guard down, it was a very heartwarming and beautiful thing, and he was a barrel of laughs. Oh, is Brooke back?
She's back.
Yay! She's back.
Sorry.
Oh.
No, you're fine.
I'm letting you know, I was behind the scenes working, trying to edit like Jenna's whole body into the thing. So I was like, I don't want the last thing she says to just be the top of her head. And I'm sitting here like trying my, bless you, Dodger. Okay.
But yeah, so I really do want to thank everybody for allowing me to do this, for allowing me to feel these things with you guys, because my process, I mean, I don't know even where I am in this process. It's some things have happened, some things haven't happened, some things I've read about on the internet that will happen. You can't prepare yourself. It's like the slow knife cuts the deepest, and I've had 5 years to prepare, and I'm not prepared.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody really was prepared. How can you be, really? Because until it happens. But John is a force in gaming that was very necessary.
Is accurate.
That
doesn't change.
Yeah,
For sure.
and I'm just so grateful of everybody's love and support during this time. And it is difficult. It is hard. It's not just me who is grieving. It's his friends. It's his family. It's anybody who ever watched a video of his and felt moved or inspired to do something, or even if it just influenced your purchasing decision. Hey, you know, that was a decision that was influenced by someone. And I'm just grateful that I have so many pieces of him to remember. And this podcast is his legacy. And I am very grateful that people are allowing me to be a part of that. And a huge thank you to Jesse for producing the show the past couple weeks, because there are so many buttons here. I have no idea what any of them do, except for like the giant fail button or the GG button that's like way over here somewhere, that's big and red and actually has stuff written on it.
Right.
And thank you to Brooke for all of your warm antidotes and funny moments, because those make me smile. And smiling has been very difficult, even though humor is my coping mechanism. It has been very difficult to smile and think that there could be moments after his passing that will be full of happiness. But you guys have, throughout the show, made me laugh, and I am just so grateful. So thank you guys so much. And thank you to everybody who's ever supported anything that we've ever done, because goodness knows that man was the ideas man, but I was the one who was with the, he was the one with the foot on the gas, but I was the one with the steering wheel a lot of the times. And it was very much a partnership in that way. He was very motivated to get things done, but didn't quite know how to get things done. And so I always had to kind of figure out how to make those things happen. But he was very much the ideas man. And he always had great ideas about what would make things easier or better for other people. We built wells in Africa. We, raised money for charities. You did so many things that involved gaming as well, and the gaming community. So I'm just grateful that the gaming community allowed my husband to be as big a part of something he loved.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much.
Dodger, hi, welcome back.
Hi.
That's really where I would have ended it, but you're back, and I want you to have
yes, of course.
I don't want to just have you back and not say anything. But if you don't have anything to say, then we can just say thank you all. But I feel like I owe it to you.
It's okay. No, I've said it. We all loved John. We all miss John. But who he is will stick with us for the rest of our lives. And I'm so happy that we're going to continue to do this podcast, however it winds up being, however different it winds up being. It was the catalyst that made Jesse, John, and I so close, and that's incredible to think about, because they both became two of my best friends. So yeah.
All right.
Shut it down.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. Thank you all for watching. Thank the two of you for joining me, and to everyone who is in chat right now. We've been watching, and it's very, very sweet what you're saying, and thank you for being a part of this. So, with that said, the Co-Optional Podcast will return in the future. Stay tuned. Obviously, follow all of the various Twitters and things like that for more information. But the show's not over. Life continues, and more nonsense to come. But here's to all of that, and here's to all of you. And I hope this was something that helped a lot of you as much as it helped us. So thank you. And on behalf of all of us, go out and get in the sun or do something, hang out with friends.
Yeah.
Go tell someone you love them. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.